Nithyananda, everybody. It's Priscilla. Welcome back. Today I wanted to share about one mystical experience that I had during my first Inner Awakening program, which was a 21-day retreat in India under Paramahamsa Nithyananda, an enlightened master from South India. And when I first went to this program, I would say I believed in God, but my idea of God was in so many boxes of what I've been told growing up. I kind of thought like God was some big guy in the sky that was so distant from me, and I'd never in the Western religion been educated on personal experience with the divine, personal revelations, visions, mystical experiences, anything like this. So I just wanted to share one experience I had that was so trippy to me because it was kind of like to my logic irrefutable of wow, I have just experienced something so divine and mystical that was just proof to me of the reality that is that God does exist and He is in you, within everything, and that she is so interactive with you when you're open to it. And so basically what happened was, during one of the meditation processes, I was just sitting and all of a sudden I got this vision in my head. And I would say it was kind of like how you see a dream is how it felt, right? But I was sitting up, I was meditating, and I got this image of this older Indian man sitting in Padmasana, like sitting like a yogi, and he had a kind of little crazy hair and a mustache, and he had no shirt, just kind of like a wrapped cloth around him, like kind of like looking like a diaper, and just sitting there. And it was just like him in empty space, and then me, my consciousness was like present there, and I was like thinking, but I didn't say out loud because in this space it wasn't like you had to communicate verbally. I was just thinking, who is this? And then he says, I'm Sri Yukteswar's guru. And that was it. And then I was back here and I was like, oh, that was random. I must have just made that up in my head. Like that made zero sense to my logic, right? I had no idea what that meant. What was that name I even said? So then I'm like, getting more curious about it as I think about it. I'm like, that was weird. I wonder what that was. So I look up Lahiri Sri Yukteswar's guru, and lo and behold, it comes up as Lahiri Mahasaya. And I was like, where? That name sounded like slightly familiar to me, and I was thinking, where did I hear this before? And then as I searched, I clicked, like even just on the Wikipedia page about him, I clicked it. And the first thing that comes up is his picture. I guess it even says there's only one photo that was ever taken of him when he was in the body. And it's the one picture which was exactly how I saw him in my vision. It's only one image of him that's ever been taken. I had no idea who this guy was, and I saw him exactly as that, and I was like, okay, this is weird. Then I'm reading, and then it says, Lahiri Mahasaya, born on September 30th, like 1880 something or 1890 something, and I was just like, what? Because my birthday is September 30th, and I was just tripping out. I was like, why is this random Indian enlightened master just appeared in my vision, and he happens to have the same birthday as me? This is just getting too weird. And then I come to realize he was actually in the same lineage of enlightened masters as Paramahamsa Yogananda, who I'm sure a lot of you actually are familiar with this name. He's the author of Autobiography of a Yogi, super famous guru in the Western world as well. Indian master. He was in the body up in the last few decades, and he's created a bunch of centers, especially in California. There's a famous center of his in San Diego area in California. Anyway, a lot of people know him because of this book he wrote too. He had a huge following in the West. And the master before him, and then the master before him was the man who came to me in the vision, Lahiri Mahasaya. And I was just thinking, why did this guru show up in my vision? Why would he have come to me like that? And as I'm reading about him, the one thing it says about him is that he took body to demonstrate how you could live a family life, a householder life, as an enlightened being. So, because most enlightened masters, enlightened beings come and they live a celibate life. They're sannyasis, they're monks, brahmacharyas. They live a life of in their own and their connection to God. They don't have a partner. They don't have a spouse because they're dedicated in that way to the divine. But he came to actually show how a householder could have the ideal family in an enlightened way, in a conscious way. And so this to me was just like, wow, because as long as I can remember, I felt like that's my path. And of course I didn't know that it would end up really being my path, which now it has manifested into reality. But I always felt like my path was to show the ultimate love and completion in a relationship, and how everything has gotten so diluted in our culture of how love is supposed to be in a romantic way with a husband or wife. And I wanted to show like what is the ultimate possibility of that. And he did that too. And so I was like, that is amazing. He had happened to come to me in a vision. We have the same birthday. Obviously there are no coincidences, only coincidences, as Swamiji says. And so this just was so amazing to me and eye-opening. And when I actually asked, I went up to Swamiji personally, my guru. I went up to Swamiji in a darshan we had one time, and I asked him specifically, what is this? Why did I get this vision? And he just kind of slyly smiled and said, that's very good, meditate on it, and left it at that. And so I was like, oh, now I'm even more curious. So this was just one extremely mystical experience I had, and I realized this connection that I have to this lineage of enlightened masters, which is so cool. And I don't fully know the expansiveness of this connection yet, but I know I can't wait to find out how all this plays out in my life. And one addition to this, just recently, as a lot of my followers might know, I'm recently married. My husband also follows our guru Swamiji, and I came to the Akashic Reading, which is where a child channels Kalabhairava's energy and can access the cosmic archives, answer any question, past, present, or future for you. So I asked, hey, Ardrita and I, what's the reason we took a birth? Why in this life did we choose to have a romantic relationship? Why did we choose to be husband and wife? Because we've actually had a lot of past lives together in other types of relationships. So I asked, why this kind of relationship? And Kalabhairava answered, to show the world how to live in completion and to how they could live with Swamiji. And so I was just like, wow, I knew that there was, we kind of both had this inkling, like our goal was to show how a romantic relationship, how a partnership can be the ultimate, and how we can work to get there and to help facilitate others to have this complete relationship. So everything is just integrating so beautifully, all these synchronicities, and I feel so blessed to be a part of such a mystical life. So this was just showing me how real God is, how real God's presence is, how real the mystical really is in interacting with you as an individual. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions or sharings, or if you guys have experienced anything like this, please comment and let me know. I would love to hear your amazing stories. I read every single comment I get. I know most I respond to actually, so I actually respond to all of them eventually in time. So do leave a comment. I'll definitely get back to you. Let me know if I can help or answer questions in any way. And thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I'll get back to you soon. Nithyananda.